Hello, everybody. Welcome into Tiger Talk
Alexa,
Wrestling. I'm your
stop!
host, Tony.
Alexa,
Joined today
stop!
by both co-hosts. We got Eddie from the Bronx,
How you doing?
and we also got, of course, Zagonski himself. John, welcome in, man.
What's up?
Not a whole lot, but we do have a lot to chat about. This, of course, being our first of a 5-part series here, mini-series, Royal Rumble Retrospective. You guys have seen us do these for WrestleMania, SummerSlam, and Survivor Series last year. We're kicking off 2025 big with Royal Rumble chat. So we're going to dive right in. I'll get you guys' opinions on different things and see what we think of Royal Rumble moments and matches over the years. I'm going to go over the results here real quick. Probably won't show them on here. We'll see if I can figure out a way too, since I'm doing this on my computer, or on my phone instead of my computer, rather. But we go back to 1988, of course, the very first Royal Rumble event. In Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, in the Cops Coliseum. Quite different from the way the Royal Rumble would eventually be, of course, as we'll get into that more so when we get to the Rumble match itself. But the show would kick off. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat would beat Rick Rude by disqualification in almost 18-minute match. Jumping Bomb Angels beat the Glamour Girls in a 2 out of 3 falls match to win the women's tag team titles, beating them 2 falls to 1. The main event would actually be the Islanders defeating the Young Stallions, but in a 2 out of 3 falls match as well, 2 straight falls. Wasn't the main event, it was the match before the main event, but the match we're more so caring to talk about, of course, from 1988's Royal Rumble was the inaugural Royal Rumble match. The big difference from that one compared to the Rumble that we're used to nowadays, only 20 men entered for that Royal Rumble match. I want to see. Of course, the very 2 first men that entered the were entrants in the Royal Rumble match were Bret the Hitman Hart and Tito Santana, who were both tag team specialists at the time. Of course, Tito in Strike Force with Rick Martel, Bret, of course, with his brother-in-law Jim the Anvil Neidhart, and the Hart Foundation. Not sure how well you're going to see that, but give you a list of who all was in that Royal Rumble match. And
But you're forgetting one of the most important stats in this Royal Rumble.
What's that?
That the very first Rumble elimination was made by Jake the Snake Roberts on Butch Reed.
Yep. Jake the Snake did eliminate Butch Reed first in the Royal Rumble match. You can see here, it started with 2 men entering. Every 2 minutes, another participant entered until all 20 had entered the match. Quite the list of individuals that were in this Royal Rumble match, though. You had Bret, Tito, Butch Reed, The Anvil, Jake the Snake, Harley Race, King Harley Race, Jumping Jim Brunzell, Sam Houston, Danny Davis, Boris Zukov, Don Marco, Nikolai Volkov, of course, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Outlaw Ron Bass, B. Brian Blair, Hillbilly Jim, Dino Bravo, a Young Ultimate Warrior, One Man Gang, and JYD were the 20 men in the match. I mentioned that Jake got the first ever elimination, eliminating Butch Reed, the National. The man that set the first record for most eliminations, though, was the One Man Gang with 5 eliminations in this match. Of course, that record wouldn't last too long, but so what did you guys think? I know, like I said, I went back and rewatched it, so it was an interesting 20-man Royal Rumble match. But what did you guys think of this Royal Rumble, looking back on it all these years later?
Well, first of all, it was 20 men over the top Royal Rumble match. It was a slight, and plus it was not on pay-per-view at the time. It was on the USA Network. It was like a special. It was on a special. To have a tag team match as the main event, the Islanders against the Young Stallions, which was a good team of Paul Roma and Jim Powers. I mean that was a good team. Then you had Dino Bravo trying to lift up 750 pounds with Jesse Ventura there, which is funny, but it was a good start to an event that the legendary and Hall of Famer Pat Patterson created. So, I give it up to that, and you think you will want to have a big name as the winner, but we get Hacksaw Jim Duggan, which was okay. Duggan was a man, but I got to say, it wasn't good until, to me, I felt like the 89 Royal Rumble was better because you had more. It went to 30, more better. It was a more better event. If this one it was on pay-per-view, so this one was just a tester. But it was some good matches.
Right.
So I will say this: with the Final Four was not the Final Four you would expect when you hear about this big spectacle the Royal Rumble was supposed to be, and the fact that you still had the smallest guy out of that Final Four be the winner, showing that an underdog can still win the Rumble that early, was amazing. And the fact that it showed that just because you're a big guy in the very first Rumble doesn't mean you're getting the easy win, especially when Hacksaw's got to fall down that rope and one man can go bye-bye.
Right. Yeah, you mentioned the Final Four. Of course, Final Four were Hacksaw and One Man Gang, Dino Bravo, and Don the Rock Morocco.
Right.
So definitely would have thought there would have been bigger names at that point in time that would have been in this first inaugural Royal Rumble match. It would have been in the Final Four.
Yeah, and I always thought the One Man Gang looked a lot like Akeem.
Funny. I wonder why that would be.
Hey, you don't like Akeem when it's an African dream.
Oh, yeah, damn right, baby. Damn right.
That's true. But also, of course, on this 1988 Royal Rumble event, one thing we didn't mention, there was a huge contract signing as well at this show between the eighth wonder of the world, Andre the Giant, and of course the, as we refer to him nowadays, immortal douchebag, Hulk Hogan, setting up their rematch from WrestleMania 3 coming up at Saturday night. I believe it was Saturday night's main event, or was it just the main event? Not long after the Rumble.
The main event.
Yeah, the main event. Right. And of course, we know out of that match, we would get the title being vacated in WrestleMania 4's tournament to determine the new WWF champion.
But give it up to I just want to say this, give it up to the chair that had Andre's ass on it and trying to figure out how the fuck did that chair survive that big of a girth?
Right? Not only that, but watching it back, that table that they used for the contract signing, that was a small-ass table.
It was.
Well, it didn't help that
when you're dealing with USA Network, the only thing that they can afford is a little table.
I guess so. Terrible. All in all, it was a pretty decent inaugural Royal Rumble event anyway. Go ahead, Eddie. What were you saying? You were starting to say something, John.
Oh, yeah, it's gonna be a small ass looking table, and you got two giant ass men in the ring.
True, but still. I mean, you had to believe that Hogan was hurt from that little kid's shot table being dumped over on top of him too.
Yeah.
Well, you saw how tight his pants was. I mean, good
True.
Lord, Hogan was wearing duct tape pants.
He comes back out for an interview after the segment too, later on in the show. So that really made it look like Hogan got the worst end of that beat down, didn't it? But you got to come out and you got to pose for the crowd, brother.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when you have to deal with Andre the Giant, that motherfucker's hands was like a car hood. You know? Yeah. I mean...
I believe it. All right. So we're going to move on. I'm going to try something else here. We move from the 1988 Royal Rumble, the inaugural one, to the 1989 Royal Rumble. This would be where we'd see the first ever 30-man Royal Rumble match, of course, which we'll get into. But also, I'm trying to get things cooperative. We'll see if it happens. Oh, that's not going to work. That 88 Rumble, of course, had Jesse Ventura and Vince McMahon as commentary. I was mentioning to John before we went on the air. It was funny how out of these 7 Royal Rumbles we're talking about tonight, only 2 years back to back did we have the same 2 commentators on commentary for the show.
Yeah.
I'll go over that as we go along here. Because 89 in Houston, Texas at the Summit, you'd have Gorilla Monsoon and Jesse the Body Ventura, but it was the only year those 2 would be together on commentary.
Wow.
89 Rumble would kick off with Hacksaw Jim Duggan and the Hart Foundation getting the victory over Dino Bravo and the Fabulous Rougeau brothers in a 2 out of 3 falls match, 2 falls to none. Rockin' Robin would defeat Judy Martin to retain the women's championship with Sensational Sherry on commentary. And then King Haku would defeat Harley Race to stay King of the Ring. That would be one match that would, I guess we could talk a little bit about. Harley Race, of course, was the king not too long before the Royal Rumble took place, and Haku had managed to get the king moniker. And Harley Race was originally managed by Bobby the Brain Heenan, but here Haku's the only one managed really by Bobby. Bobby kind of was in a neutral corner, I think, but still. The way this match started, or before it started, I guess technically, when Haku's brought out there, carried out on the throne by 4 guys, and Harley Race comes out and dumps him off that crown. Pretty interesting way to start off the match, even though it was before the match, really, I guess.
Like I was watching that, and I'm like saying, Bobby Heenan was a genius. He had 2 guys from his own state, from the Heenan family, going at it for a crown. So either way, Bobby Heenan came out the winner. So that's my assumption of the match between Haku and Harley Race. I mean, the reason why Harley lost it because he ruptured a kidney on a match against Hogan on Saturday night's main event when Hogan moved and he landed on the table pretty hard. So that's why he had to leave wrestling for 6 months to get healed up. And so yeah, it was a match between 2 Heenan family members, and it was okay.
Yeah. 9-minute one.
Welcome back to Jabronis.
What happened?
He went ghost mode.
Give me a minute, folks. Let me go look. Okay, so what other match did you like with the? What did you like the match between the Russo brothers and Dino Bravo against the Hart Foundation and Duggan? What was your thought on that match?
I mean, the only thought I really had on it was, why would you have Duggan in a match and not in the Rumble to kind of try and win again as the reigning Rumble champion?
Most definitely, I do agree.
Other than that, it was a good match. And is it
So
is it one of the
go ahead. I'm
Rougeau
sorry.
brothers that becomes the Mountie?
Yeah, that's Jacques and Rain. Yeah,
That Canadian piece of shit.
yeah. Oh, and here's the other thing I was going to ask you. There also was a special attraction to get their feud with this match that was going to happen at WrestleMania 5. It was the pose down between the Ultimate Warrior and Ravishing Rick Rude, which every time, if you watch it, Jesse Ventura always says the winner of the Jesse Abadi Award, Ravishing Rick Rude. I thought it was a good pose down by Rick Rude because the Ultimate Warrior did the same thing every time, and then one of the stupidest ways to end the segment that you spray water into the Ultimate Warrior eyes and he don't really do anything. He just stands there and go like, oh, I got water in my face by Bobby the Brain Heenan. Well, you fucked up a whole segment to get ready for WrestleMania 5. So your opinion, my opinion, I thought it was an okay pose down. It should have been a match, but you got what you got. So what was your opinion of that pose down section between Rude and the Warrior?
It went. Go ahead.
I really didn't care for it because the way they went about it was pointless, and it just seemed like they could have done a better stare down build, whatever you want to say, segment for that. And it just seemed like a waste of time that could be used for something a little better.
Okay. Tony, what's your opinion about it?
Yeah, it was way longer than what it needed to be. They seemed like they were doing mostly the same poses throughout the entire thing, too. Just coming up with different names for them. It's like, how many times do we really need to see Rick Rude out there gyrating his hips,
Yeah.
Okay,
so do we put them in the history of the WWF or the World Wrestling Federation? I will put this one down to the Triple H and Scott Steiner pose down as one of the worst pose down in wrestling history.
Yeah, I would say that.
And we don't even have to do Steiner math.
No, we don't. That is true. We do not have to do Steiner math. But I'm glad you mentioned that, brought that part up too. I was going to bring it up, but just didn't get a chance to. My phone decided to cut things off there. So, bear with me. I'll go back to this and show you. Of course, the main event.
Something funny, boys.
What's that, John?
So I started the 1996 Rumble. And you know how it opens on Sunny in the Tub?
Yeah.
I didn't tell my wife what it was. Her reaction was hilarious.
A young me would have been like, damn. A young me would have been like, can I go into that bath with her?
Where do I find the tub?
Yeah.
He was saying if he was a young man, he would do it.
Yes. And by the way, what Nikita Lyons did this past week on NXT by shaking them titties, I was like this, like, damn Adonis, go right at them. Put your face into them. Holla, boy.
I'll be honest, I'm getting sick of the Nikita Lyon and Petrovich. It's getting stale.
It's all right. They need Dr. Godfather to be there.
Right.
The feud with Petrovich.
Like.
Anyway, get us a little bit back on track here. Going into the Royal Rumble match. This would be the first time, was definitely not last, but this year's Royal Rumble, the 89 Rumble, would mark the first time that we would see two tag team partners kick off the Royal Rumble match, as you had Act of Demolition start number one, Smash of Dem start number two. Of course, every 2 minutes again, another participant entered to all 30 men entered.
Isn't it?
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. As you can see here, you had Andre the Giant enter number 3. Came in and pretty much eliminated Smash semi-quickly, but Axe and Smash did turn and was beating up Andre for a little bit. Because Axe and Smash had issues with Andre and Haku at that point in time. A very, very young Mr. Perfect would enter number 4. Wasn't even wearing the singlet yet. He was just in funks at that point in time. Rugged Ronnie Garvin, Greg the Hammer Valentine, Jake the Snake, Ron Bass, Shawn Michaels, Rockers, Bushwhacker Butch, Honky Tonk Man, Tito Santana, Bad News Brown, Marty Jannetty, Randy Macho Man Savage, Macho King, sorry, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, Hulk Hogan, Luke the Bushwhackers, Coco Beware, Warlord, Big Boss Man, Akeem, Brutus Barber, Cake, the Red Rooster, the Barbarian, Big John Studd, Hercules, Rick Martel, and Teddy DiBiase was the order that entered. One of the big stories going into this match was that the $1 Million Man had originally pulled an early number, but he used his money to get a trade, number-wise, with somebody to enter number 30 into this match. A lot of stories really came out of this Royal Rumble match, though, leading into WrestleMania.
I thought it was more than one trade that got him to number 30.
It may have been, but that was
technically he traded with Akeem, who came in at number 23, which I think is a fair number in the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
And I mean, in the Royal Rumble, you're number 23. I mean, that's good. I mean, I like that number. And Tony, when you were saying that the Haku and Andre were
that was a year later.
Were fighting against Demolition, it was technically that was 1990.
Yeah, my bad.
They were taking care of the Brainbusters.
Yeah, you're right. The Brainbusters were with Andre then.
Yeah.
Got my years mixed up. My bad.
No, it's all right.
But anyway.
Don't call me Eddie the Brain Heenan.
Right? Anyway.
Yeah.
A lot of firsts happened in this Rumble. As mentioned, Andre would come out. He did eliminate Smash first. Andre would be the first person. So we're going to talk about this one when we get to the 92 Rumble, because I got a beef with this. But Andre was the first person to eliminate himself from the Royal Rumble match. Because Jake the Snake came out through Damien in the ring. Jake had been in the match before that and got eliminated by Andre. Jake didn't even get a single move, punk, kick, anything in. As soon as he hit the ring, Andre smothered him. And within, what was it? Let's see, where's Jake at? Within 2 minutes and 8 seconds, Andre eliminated Jake the Snake from the match. Jake was the third eliminated because Nash and Ronnie Garvin had both been eliminated by Andre before that. You would see the fourth elimination, Axe eliminated Mr. Perfect, and then Jake the Snake came back out, like I said, with Damien, his snake, and Andre would then jump out of the ring himself. I guess he can't really say jump, but still. He would take himself out of the ring and leave because of his being deathly scared of snakes, pretty much was the reasoning they gave for it.
I mean, yeah.
Was that done?
It made Andre look like a bitch.
Yeah, pretty much. And if I get anything better. Best way to show that. That looks better. Conditions. No, that didn't work. But that of course would lead to Andre and Jake's still had their matches against each other. Yeah, there's a lot of things that went on in this Royal Rumble match you can talk about that led to matches at WrestleMania 5. We go with, let's see, after Andre eliminated himself, you had Lucky Talk Man got eliminated by Butch and Tito, which was kind of surprising. He Talk didn't last that long really in a match, but I thought he would have gotten eliminated by somebody more than just those two random guys. Ron Bass by the Rockers. Greg the Hammer Valentine got eliminated by Macho King. Shawn by Arn and Randy, which was weird to see. It wasn't Macho King yet. It was Macho Man because he was the WWF champion at that point in time going into WrestleMania 5. But still, the main storyline, of course, out of it, there's a couple more to go, but Randy Macho Man Savage would be eliminated technically by Hulk Hogan at the same time that he eliminated Brainbuster as well. And that, of course, was, I'm going to put this back on me instead of that, because it's not quite the way I wanted it to. There. You can still hear me, I know. I'm getting my camera resituated. The big story there, of course, that led to the issues between Savage and Hogan and to the match between Mega Powers. That's WrestleMania 5.
No, yeah, like you said, we had multiple feuds coming out of the Royal Rumble. You had the Mega Power exploding at the main event the following week when Savage hit Elizabeth, and then the hit heard around the wrestling world. Savage hitting Hogan with the Wing Eagle belt, which still to this day, Hogan said in interviews that Randy was so intense that he actually punched Hogan so hard that he had a black eye for 3 weeks. You know, and then the match that you were talking about with WrestleMania 5, you had Jake and Andre having their match at WrestleMania 5 with a special guest referee who will talk about who the winner of the 1989 Royal Rumble was. He was a special guest referee for that match at WrestleMania 5. And then you had Hogan and Warrior. And then you had Demolition.
Hogan Savage.
You know, going for the tag team titles. And, yeah, you had a lot of storylines coming out of WrestleMania, coming out of the Royal Rumble. And, Savage was intense, man. I mean, even when he got eliminated from within by Hogan, he looks like he's wanting to punch Hogan right out. But
right,
it is what it is.
Yeah, so it was interesting to see Savage get into Hogan's face. Elizabeth comes out there, has to calm down Savage. Eventually, Savage and Hogan shake hands before Big Boss Man makes his entrance. The Twin Towers, Boss Man, and Akeem would eventually eliminate Hogan from the match, which was shocking to see happen. Hogan gets you would have thought Hogan would have made it to the final four at least instead of getting eliminated number 21. But Hogan did set the new record that year for most eliminations, as he had 10 eliminations in this match after One Man Gang had gotten 5 in the year before.
I mean, his favorites one when he did it to the Warlord.
Say, because the Warlord came in, does a little pose before he comes into the ring, turns around, goes in the ring, and clotheslined right out of the ring right away. 2 seconds,
Yeah.
he's out of the match. Which would be the shortest amount of time that anybody would be in the Royal Rumble for a year. I think that's all it was. But still. One of the shortest times in a Rumble match of all time. So I'm going to cut just other storylines we can go over, but I'm going to go down to the final 4 men that were in this match. We had Big John Studd, the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, Akeem, and, of course, Rick Martel. Interesting final 4, to say the least, especially when you had the likes of Hogan and Savage, the WWF champion. You would have thought those 2 guys probably would have been in the final 4 personally. But this is the way things went down in '89, and Andre even would have thought would have been in there towards the end instead of being eliminating himself so early. But in the end, Rick Martel go ahead.
I don't think Andre would, because due to his health reasons, I don't think he could have lasted all the way to that end from number 3 to 30.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree with that.
You know, if Andre was the way he was, like around WrestleMania 1, you know, maybe. Maybe if Andre didn't have the back trouble and he was still growing, you know, with his, I forgot what they call it. What's a disease that he kept growing? I forgot the name of it. But
whatever the exact name is, I can't remember. But
yeah, but I would have loved to see the final 2, Andre Studd, to renew that rivalry from WrestleMania 1 with the body slam at the Garden. I think it would have been and this was Big John Studd's first, I don't know how many matches he had, but this was the first time that we saw a Studd on TV since WrestleMania 1, because he wasn't at 2. He wasn't at 3. He retired for 2 years. For 3 years, I'm sorry. Retired for 3 years, and then he came back for one last run.
Yeah. And this was his only Royal Rumble appearance.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, Rick Martel got eliminated by Akeem. Akeem would then get eliminated by Studd after a mishap between him and DiBiase, because Akeem and DiBiase were working together. And then it came down to Ted DiBiase and Big John Studd. DiBiase didn't stand a chance when it came down to those 2. Studd kind of played with him a little bit before eventually tossing the $1 Million Man over, and then dumbass Virgil decides to come in and jump on the back of Big John Studd, and he paid for it too.
This is why we always call him Curly.
Right? That is true.
Yeah.
But yeah, Big John Studd, the second ever Royal Rumble match winner. Again, like I said, it was his first ever Royal Rumble match and only. Number 27 entrant wins the match. There is a shocker. We'll get more into that.
To me, I thought it was
to
me, like you said, it's odd that he won, because you had a star-studded. Hell, half of the people in that Royal Rumble are Hall of Famers.
Right? At least half.
You know, But we also got to hear Hacksaw Jim Duggan's theme song after the match.
Yeah.
Which is odd. That used to be Stud's one, but Duggan stole and they just had the "ho."
Right. That is weird. I didn't realize that. I didn't even notice that when they played it. Alright. Any other... I don't think there's anything else really to mention about 89, so we'll move on to 1990's Royal Rumble. Unless there's anything else you guys want to mention about the 89 Rumble. Okay. So we move on. 1990 in Orlando Arena in Orlando, Florida. We have Tony Schiavone and Jesse the Body on commentary. So this show, we're going to get into that quite a bit, but this show was quite interesting for the Royal Rumble, but leading into the Rumble match and the Rumble match itself. Again, it set up a lot of things for WrestleMania. The show kicks off with the Bushwhackers beating the Rougeau brothers. Brutus the Barber Beefcake and the Genius went to a double disqualification. Rugged Ronnie Garvin beat Greg Hammer Valentine in a submission match. And Hacksaw Jim Duggan defeated the Big Boss Man with Slick by disqualification. That brings us to the Royal Rumble match itself. And 1 year after buying his way into entering number 30, the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, unluckily draws number 1. So my question for you guys is this. If he could buy his way to the number 30 slot the year before, why didn't Ted DiBiase do the same thing this year?
He maxed out his credit card. I don't know.
I mean, storyline-wise, wouldn't it have made sense if he would have bought his way to number 30 again?
Well, the reason what they were telling on Superstars that President Jack Tunney had heavy security around everywhere, that he picks the numbers and the wrestlers have to take it, and I'm like, okay, so it's another bullshit to make the Royal Rumble irrelevant, so
right.
So I was okay with it. But there's more stories. We got to talk about this one at the end.
Yeah.
We'll shock people. But let's just go through the card because this has to do with the Royal Rumble match winner. So let's just get it to where we have to.
All right. So we start the match off with the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, and the Birdman, Coco Beware. They go at it for 1 minute and 36 seconds, and then DiBiase eliminates Coco Beware. Marty Jannetty enters number 3. He lasts 1 minute and 35 seconds before DiBiase eliminates him. Then finally we get Jake the Snake Robertson. The ring starts to fill up a little bit. Randy Savage, Roddy Piper, the Warlord, Bret Hart, Benny Brown, Dusty, Andre, Red Rooster, Axe, Haku. I'm just going to go over this list real quick of featurings, and we'll go past that in the stories. Smash, Akeem, Superfly, Dino Bravo, the Canadian Earthquake, the Anvil, Ultimate Warrior, Rick Martel, Tito Santana, Honky Tonk Man, Hulk Hogan, Shawn Michaels, the Barbarian, Rick Rude, Hercules, and Mr. Perfect. What's the order of the entrance? Jake the Snake would get eliminated by the Macho Man Randy Savage. He'd be the 3rd elimination in this match. As I see, there is a comment in the comment section. Daniel Gonzalez with the airplane symbol there. So, okay then. Interesting.
Well, good luck with your flight.
Right? See there. What story do we kick off with from this Royal Rumble match? I'm not going to go over every elimination. I mean, Macho King would then get eliminated by the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, because Dusty and Savage, we know, had issues then, as did Savage and Jake. But Dusty and Savage would, of course, have I believe it was the mixed tag team match at WrestleMania 6 that year.
Yep, with Sapphire and Dusty. with the crown jewel, baby. The
Yeah.
crown jewel. And Elizabeth with Sherry and Mancho in Toronto. But the big one, the showdown between the Intercontinental Champion, the Ultimate Warrior, and the World Wrestling Federation Champion, Hulk Hogan, which led to the title for title, champion versus champion, the Ultimate Challenge at Skydome in Toronto, which I still think was the best WrestleMania of that year because two faces going in as the Intercontinental and WWE champion, and we all know what happened at WrestleMania 6.
Yes.
Warrior won the belt, gave up the Intercontinental title. Perfect went on to win it. Ultimate Warrior sucked for 6 months and then lost it the previous Royal Rumble.
The next Royal Rumble, yeah.
And then, yeah. But I thought that was a good storyline. And plus, you had DiBiase and Jake Roberts doing their storyline. And then you had the collapse of the... I hate saying that because of the name of the damn team. This is what they called it. The collapse. Yeah, the collapse of the Colossal Connection and the collapse of the Twin Towers, which I hate saying that name because what happened years prior to that. But my main thing was Hogan and Warrior, and then you had another match, one that was really controversial, Roddy Piper and Bad News Brown.
Yeah, Piper.
Woo!
Yeah, Piper would eliminate Bad News Brown from this match, and then Bad News would pull him out right afterwards, which led to, of course, the match you're referring to at WrestleMania 6 between those two. And Piper, well, he infamously blacked himself halfway, if you will.
Yep, and that match cannot be seen on Peacock.
I believe that. It should not be, but it's probably there. Ted DiBiase did set, for this being the third Royal Rumble, he did set at that time a new longevity record, lasting 44 minutes and 47 seconds in there. The Warrior and Hogan little brief meeting between those two was a perfect spot in this match. I will mention, though, Hogan accidentally, I'm putting quotes around that on purpose, eliminated Savage the year before, who was a friend, and then this year, again, accidentally eliminates Warrior by eliminating a couple other people at the same time as well. But
yeah, accidentally, I'm Hulk Hogan. I do everything my way.
Yeah.
What a great friend.
Right? Friends like Hogan, who needed enemies?
Yeah, I'm Hogan. Yeah, I'm Hogan. Yay. Dumbass.
But it all came down to the final four, and this one was Hercules, Rick Rude, Mr. Perfect, and Hulk Hogan. Hercules actually was in late on most of these first Royal Rumble matches, which is surprising. But Herc would get eliminated by Rude. Rick Rude would actually get eliminated by Hogan and Perfect, is what it says. Perfect did kind of play a little part in it, not on purpose, but he still did. And then Perfect, of course, being eliminated by the WWF champion, Hulk Hogan. So, we had to end the show with Hogan on top, and that'll bring us to the next year here in a moment. Anything else you guys want to mention about the 1990 Royal Rumble match, or Royal Rumble itself, before we jump into 91?
Well, technically, Hogan was not even supposed to win the 1990 Royal Rumble. It had it already scripted out that they showed it once before. Perfect was supposed to win the 1990 Royal Rumble, and Hogan vetoed it and say, well, I think I should win it, and blah, blah, blah. Hogan, I think it will help me going into WrestleMania. Motherfucker, you are the World Wrestling Federation champion, and you have to win a Royal Rumble? Kiss my ass, you retarded jackass.
That's how you really feel, Eddie.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Perfect even had the perfect draw at number 30.
John, you have any thoughts about that? I was going to ask you, what do you thought about that? I thought it was bullshit that Mr. Perfect, with the perfect number, didn't even win the Royal Rumble.
Well, I mean, it was a long time before someone won with that perfect number.
That's true.
But I mean, it's not the first time. I mean, well, it is the first time that's happened where someone else gets the win, even though that's not what the original script was. And it's going to happen quite a bit from here on out. But the fact that the world champion has to get a say in it, it's like, dude, you're the world champion. Shut the fuck up, do the match, and go on with your fucking life.
Right.
I mean, I feel back in the day, if you were in the Royal Rumble, okay, except for the Intercontinental or the Tag Team Champions, they are privileged to go in and try to win the Royal Rumble. But if you're the World Wrestling Federation, if you're the world champion, don't win the Royal Rumble. It's like if Brock was the WWE champion, right?
Right.
When Sheamus eliminated him right before COVID.
Drew eliminated him.
Drew, sorry.
Drew. Yeah. And Drew.
Did you see Brock be like, oh no, I want to win the entire thing. I'm just gonna pull a Hulk Hogan like he did. You know, I mean, it's a shame that Perfect could have had a more better career if he would have won the. Yeah, I know when he came back after his stint in WCW, he was the Final Four in that Royal Rumble. I feel like Perfect should have. Yeah, I feel like Perfect should have got a great deal. He was still on TV. He was still undefeated.
Right.
Until I think when he lost to I don't know, did he lose to Brutus the Barber Beefcake at WrestleMania 6?
I have to look it up. I can't remember. Let's see. Whoops. Yeah. Of course. So, yes. Brutus won by pinfall.
Yeah, so that was his first loss in WWE. And yeah, did he win titles? Did he? Yeah. Fuck you, Hogan. Fuck you, Hogan.
All right. That's Hogan for you. That would bring us to 1991. I have a feeling we're going to be talking a lot about Hogan here too, for many reasons. But 1991.
No yeet. Damn.
No yeet. We go to the Miami Arena in Miami, Florida. You got Gorilla Monsoon and Roddy Piper on commentary. The Rockers would defeat the Orient Express to kick off the show. Big Boss Man defeated the Barbarian. I'm skipping over a match for a minute. The Mountie defeated Coco Beware, and Ted DiBiase and Virgil would defeat Dusty and Dustin Rhodes in a tag team match. The semi-main event, even though it took place in the middle of the card, of course, was the Ultimate Warrior defending the WWF Championship, as you mentioned, that he had won at WrestleMania 6, against the American Turncoat at that point in time, the Saudi ambassador, or whatever you want to call him, Sergeant Slaughter with General Adnan. all kinds of crazy things went on in the world at that point in time. The Royal Rumble kicked off with the Star Spangled Banner being played because things that were going on between the U.S. and Iraq at that point in time, which would lead to what happened in the main event match, I feel like, here too. But with help from Macho King Randy Savage getting involved twice in the match, Sergeant Slaughter would defeat the Ultimate Warrior to win the WWF Championship. I kind of skimmed through it, but yeah, watched it at points the other night, and the match these two had at that Royal Rumble was the shits. Let's put it that way. Slaughter did what he could. Let's say that much.
Am I happy for Sarge being the World Wrestling Federation champion? Yes. He bust his ass before he got the G.I. Joe deal, which was used for Slaughter being the poster boy of G.I. Joe, because I used to have his little Slaughter. Action figure when it had it, so that was pretty cool. Oh my God, what the hell? I see eyes and everything, eyes and chest. But hands down, I always thought that the main event was garbage. The main event was plain garbage.
Yeah, we'll get to that eventually.
And we always love to see Randy Savage dressed like a candy cane.
Right.
I
was like, what the hell?
And apparently, for the first time in WWE pay-per-view, it looks like Sherry was on her knees ready to do something to not saying what it is.
Woo, brother!
Yeah. Shit, I didn't know the Attitude Era started in 1991. Right?
But still. But yeah, that title reign for Slaughter didn't last very long. We know why, and the main event match is part of the reason why, but we'll jump into that here in a second. I'll go through the list of the 30 men that entered the match first, then we'll talk about what led to WrestleMania 7, what storyline we got out of this for it. So the order of the entrance, we got Bret the Hitman Hart and Dino Bravo kicking off the Royal Rumble match. Greg the Hammer Valentine in his number 3, Paul Roma, the Texas Tornado, Kerry Von Erich, Rick Martel, Saba Simba, who, for anybody who's wondering who the fuck is Saba Simba, that'd be Tony Atlas. Bushwhacker Butch, Jake the Snake Roberts, the Mighty Hercules, Tito Santana, the Royal Rumble debut of The Undertaker, Superfly, the British Bulldog, Smash, Hawk, a young Shane Douglas, the Macho King Randy Savage, who will get into his involvement or lack thereof in this match in a moment, Road Warrior Animal, Crush, from representing Demolition at that point in time, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, The Earthquake, Mr. Perfect, Hulk Hogan, Haku, The Anvil, Bushwhacker Luke, Brian Knobbs, The Warlord, and Tugboat. Lot to go over again here. Dino Bravo was the first man eliminated by Greg Valentine. Not going to go over all these eliminations, but one of the first storylines from eliminations-wise for this match was Jake the Snake getting eliminated by Rick the Model Martel, because, of course, at WrestleMania that year, we would see those two men go at it in the infamous blindfold match.
Still to this day, I always laughed about that match. Like, who the fuck came up with this idea? Right? Putting two great athletes in Jake Roberts and Rick Martel, who at that time, man, was physically physically, his physique was like top
It was.
notch. I mean, the man was fucking brolic. I mean, even at the British Bulldog. That motherfucker looked like a semi truck when he
Right.
came in. I mean, bull like this, like what the fuck, Davey
Right.
boy.
Well, Rick Martel did set a new longevity record in this match as well, as he lasted 52 minutes and 17 seconds, which would only last for what, a year, but still, we'll get into that. Yeah, I remember the whole Rick Martel Jake Roberts blindfold match. Of course, the reason we got the blindfold match was because Rick Martel sprayed some of his arrogance perfume, or whatever you want to call it, fragrance, into the eyes of Jake the Snake that supposedly blinded him and therefore led to the blindfold match. It was definitely a unique way to set up for their match at WrestleMania 7. John, you mentioned one of your favorites actually happened to be a part of this match and the next year's Royal Rumble match. Who would that person be?
That would be the Texas Tornado, Kerry Von Erich.
Yeah, unfortunately, he did not last very long in this Royal Rumble match. I mean, it was 24 minutes that he lasted in there. But he came across a certain phenom, and that took his opportunity of winning the match away from him. The Texas Tornado, after Jake Roberts was eliminated by The Undertaker.
I still thought it was a good showing for him in his first Rumble match. For sure,
24 minutes isn't terrible for Rumble.
Yeah, let's show some love to Kerry Von Erich, man. That family, the Von Erichs, are one of the greatest families of the wrestling, with the Harts, with the Rhodes family. I mean, the Flairs, the Ortons, the list goes, the Funks. I mean, what happened to that family? And now that they have their kids wrestling, I mean, what a tragedy, but the legacy is still there, and you got to get up to Kerry, man. I still think to this day, if he didn't do what he did, I still think he could have been a World Wrestling Federation champion.
Not to mention the fact he did all that on one leg.
Yeah. I mean, after that motorcycle accident, that after he won the NWA title from Flair, I feel like a man with one leg. And I didn't like when he lost the Intercontinental title to Perfect. You had the $1 Million Man rip off his leg on national TV. I always felt like that was so disgusting, and Vince McMahon trying to make a pop.
Right.
And I'm like, how can you do that to a family that basically ran Texas and world-class championship wrestling? I always felt like the Texas Tornado could have got a better deal in the WWE.
Yeah, I agree.
And a better shirt.
Yeah. Yeah, that shirt. Oh, my God. Oh, look, it's a Dusty Tornado. Like, motherfucker, give him a rig. You give Hulk Hogan a T-shirt with his face on. You give the guy with dirt and puddles. Like, what the fuck?
But I mean, at least he's in the Hall of Fame.
True.
Yeah. And he made that Intercontinental title look good.
He did.
Anyway. All right. Going to order and eliminations there. I mentioned Macho King Randy Savage had a spot in here. He was supposed to be the number 18th entrant, but he never entered the match. Storyline-wise, they claimed it was because Warrior had chased him out of the arena after Savage had cost Warrior the championship. The real reason I couldn't necessarily really tell you, because that's just the reason they give you. Undertaker did get eliminated by the LOD. It was shocking. Shane Douglas had a really good outing here. He was, like I said, he was a young version of Shane Douglas back then compared to what we know him as now. 26 minutes and 23 seconds. He made it to the final 9 men in the match. So, before Brian Knobs would have made him. By Earthquake, 17. Okay, but that's actually different. I don't know why they always claim that. That says 4 seconds. Bushwhacker Luke in this match, infamously, of course, goes into the ring doing the Bushwhacker march and walks right into the Earthquake, who takes him and tosses him out over the other side of the ring, and he marches all the way to the back. One of the funniest moments in Royal Rumble match history, and one of the quickest eliminations in Royal Rumble match history.
Oh.
What more do you say about that?
You can't.
We'd see Tugboat for the third time in this match. He was friends with Hogan, but we did eliminate him pretty quickly in this match. Tugboat was number 30 after it. Perfect. We get eliminated by Bulldog, the Invo by Rick Martel. The final 4 would be Rick Martel. As we mentioned, he had the longevity in there for 52 minutes, 17 seconds. Hogan, Brian Knobs, and of course Larry Quake. Rick Martel. Oh, sorry, Rick Martel was in the final 4. He was in the final 5. He eliminated by Bulldog. Bulldog was in the final. So then you got Bulldog, Hogan, Earthquake, and Brian Knobs. Funny, Hogan, Brian Knobs, and Earthquake, of course, are 3 guys that got along, well, at least Knobs and Hogan, very well since then. They were good friends. So. But Bulldog would get eliminated by Earthquake and Knobs. Knobs would then get eliminated by Hogan, bringing us down to Hogan and Earthquake. Looked like Earthquake was going to get the win. He even hits the avalanche splash on Hogan, but Hogan hulks up right afterwards because it's Hulk Hogan. That's what he does. Hogan would eventually power slam Earthquake and would eliminate Earthquake to become the first ever back-to-back Royal Rumble match winner. All because of everything that was going on between Iraq and the USA. I have a feeling, you mentioned how Mr. Perfect was originally supposed to win the year before. I have a feeling probably somebody else was originally supposed to win this Royal Rumble match if it hadn't been for what was going on between Iran and the US at that time, or Iraq.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, with Desert Storm going on, I have a gut feeling he wanted to, hey, the American hero.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I get that part.
I mean, but hold up. If they wanted an American hero to win, why not the Texas Tornado? That's an American treasure right there.
Or they could have had Hacksaw Jim Duggan win in the end.
Oh.
Yeah, but you got to give it to Hogan, brother. He's the biggest star in the company.
Yeah, so is Dry Paint.
That's true, but just stating fact.
So a leg drop.
Yeah. But yeah, I still feel like not only that Royal Rumble, but I think that year's WrestleMania probably would have turned out a lot different if it wouldn't have been for Desert Storm.
Stupid world events.
Yep, right.
I do have to say about the commentating, no offense to Roddy Piper, they could have put somebody else as commentator of that pay-per-view. I know Jesse left the company, due to a payment about the WWF video game. But, man, Jesse on the mic compared to what we had with Piper, God, it was horrible.
That's true. Piper at times almost seemed like he didn't understand some of the rules for the Royal Rumble match, and he'd even been in Royal Rumble matches before, so...
Yeah, but Piper doesn't have a mind to remember shit anyway. So he gets punched in the head way too much, and he's just an idiot.
I guess that's true.
That's true.
So we move on to the 1992 Royal Rumble in the Knickerbocker Arena in Albany, New York. First Royal Rumble in New York. And also the first Royal Rumble where you get the legendary announcing team of Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby the Brain Heenan. We'll get into that in a minute. That's why Bobby was on it. The show kicks off with the new foundation, Jim the Anvil Neidhart and Owen Hart, defeating the Orient Express, Kato and Pat Tanaka with Mr. Fuji. Roddy Piper defeated the Mountie with Jimmy Hart by submission to win the Intercontinental Championship. We know what happened at WrestleMania off of that. The Beverly Brothers beat the Bushwhackers, and the Natural Disasters defeated the WWF Tag Team Champions Legion of Doom by countout. But the biggest story going into the 1992 Royal Rumble, what was going on with the WWF Championship?
Well, this happened at the 1991 Survivor Series. The Undertaker defeated Hulk Hogan in the Joe Louis Arena to win the World Wrestling Federation title from Hogan due to outside interference from the real world champion, the Nature Boy Ric Flair. And then we go to this Tuesday in Texas, which we have covered on this channel. So if you want to go back and watch it and see what our prediction was, please do. It just looked for this Tuesday in Texas. Hogan wins again by controversy by throwing the ashes of the urn. And then President Jack Tunney strips Hogan of the title, vacates it, and the winner of the 1992 Royal Rumble would be the undisputed World Wrestling Federation champion.
Indeed. So we kick off.
I don't agree with the point that out.
What's that?
I don't agree that he should have won it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, we'll get into that. So we kick off the Royal Rumble match with Davey Boy Smith, the British Bulldog, and the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. I was just watching this a couple hours ago. I was surprised to see how quickly, a minute and 18 seconds, that Ted DiBiase lasted in that Royal Rumble match before Davey Boy eliminated him.
Yeah, around this time, DiBiase was having back trouble. So he wrestled, but he was still having some back issues that he had to deal with. So, yeah, I was a little shocked. The belt that he always wanted, and he had a chance to win it, he only lasted a minute and a half.
Not even, a minute 18.
It's all right. We knew who the Millennium Man was anyway that night.
Oh, yeah. Number 3 entrant himself. The Nature Boy. Ric Flair.
Woo!
Woo, woo, woo.
Wow. What the fuck?
Woo.
Woo, woo, woo.
Ric Flair would be followed by Jerry Sags from the Nasty Boys, who'd get eliminated quickly by Davey Boy in a minute and 6 seconds. Haku would come out. Number 5 would be eliminated within less than 2 minutes by the Bulldog as well. You get Shawn Michaels out there, Tito Santana, the Barbarian, the Texas Tornado, Repo Man, Greg the Hammer Valentine, Nikolai Volkov, Big Boss Man, Hercules, Rowdy Piper, Jake the Snake Roberts. We'll get into some storylines from that too. Hacksaw Jim Duggan, IRS, Jimmy Superfly Snuka, The Undertaker, Randy Savage, the Berserker, Virgil, Colonel Mustafa, a.k.a. Iron Sheik, Rick Martel, Hulk Hogan, Skinner, Sergeant Slaughter, Sid Justice, and number 30 entrant, the Warlord. A lot of storylines also came out of this, which we'll get into. The first one, Repo Man and Boss Man had their rivalry that kind of happened with this part of it. Ric Flair would eventually eliminate British Bulldog after 23.5 minutes. Flair would also eliminate the Texas Tornado, who only lasted 9 minutes and 20 seconds in this Royal Rumble match. So not as good as was showing for the Texas Tornado as the year prior. El Matador,
Nope.
Tito Santana would get eliminated by Shawn. Go ahead, John. What were you saying?
No woo.
No woo.
No woo.
Tito Santana got eliminated by Shawn. Shawn got eliminated by Tito as they took each other out. By Hercules. Boss Man eliminated Hercules. So, one of the biggest spots here in this part, about the mid part of the match, I mean, you had Flair in there. At this point, Flair and Piper were in there alone, and then Jake Roberts comes out as Piper's putting Flair to sleep with the sleeper hold. Roberts just goes and sits in the corner at first before he goes after anybody. Just lets Piper keep the sleeper on Flair. But the ring starts to fill up a little bit after Jake comes in. You got Hacksaw, IRS, Jimmy Snuka, and then The Undertaker. And then out comes the number 21 entrant, the Macho Man Randy Savage, who had his issues with Jake the Snake, of course, because Jake had put his hands on Elizabeth not too long before the Royal Rumble. Savage comes out looking for Jake, who had rolled out of the ring and was trying to hide. Savage gets beat up by Taker and a couple others, and then Roberts comes back in. But lo and behold, Savage eventually gets a hold of Jake and eliminates Jake the Snake. But then Randy jumps over the top rope to the floor to go after Jake some more. Undertaker rolls out and goes after Savage to try and throw him back in the ring. And he gets thrown back in the ring himself, Taker does. And then Taker comes back out and goes after Savage again. The commentators acknowledge the fact that, or mention the fact that Savage eliminated himself, jumped over the top rope himself, so he wasn't eliminated from this match at that point in time. But yeah, Andre can eliminate himself a couple years prior. What sense does that make? He has to be thrown over.
You know, one thing about the Royal Rumble rules. I always feel like they just throw shit to the wall and be like, okay, you're gonna eliminate yourself and you be gone. But it's like, okay, Randy did the same thing, and he got back into the match and lasted to the finals. Like, who the fuck makes up with these? Who the fuck make these ideas? It's like they just sit up. Pat's like, no, we're gonna change it. It's like I can't wait to see this year that they're gonna throw gummy bears at one another. You know, and
maybe.
It's like, what the fuck? I mean, one Royal Rumble, and we're going to get to it down the road. A fucking man eliminated somebody with an umbrella. I mean, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, it'll be a little while before we get to that, but we will get to there.
Yeah, I mean, for the love of God, is this what the Royal Rumble is supposed to be like? I mean, hell, I'm just waiting for somebody to set up a table in the corner and serve somebody some sushi.
I mean, we have seen tables in the Royal Rumble match, so.
Well, I understand that, but, you know, you could give a little wine. Hell, you could have a whole dinner party on the side of the ring and be like, okay, yeah, let's do this.
Right. Well, anyways, after Savage gets back in there, after eliminating Jake, he get a couple other eliminations. Hulk Hogan does eliminate The Undertaker from the match, which kind of goes back to their matches at Survivor Series in this Tuesday in Texas. Lurker gets eliminated by Hogan. Let's see, number 19, 20, 19, Duggan by Virgil. Who cares? Virgil by Duggan. Yeah. By Martel. Slaughter gets eliminated by Sid Justice. Warlord got eliminated by Hogan and Justice. And brings us to the final four. You got Hogan, Savage, Flair, and Sid. That is a final four when you talk about the Royal Rumble, in my opinion. That was probably the best final four up to that point in time. Of course, with that, at least in my opinion. With that, you see Randy Savage would eventually get eliminated by Ric Flair and Sid Justice. He was in the corner on top of Flair, punching him pretty much, delivering the punches, and Sid came from behind and dumped him on top of Flair, doing it as well. Then comes the controversy as we get to the final three, because Hulk Hogan gets dumped out of the ring from behind by Sid Justice. And Hogan had a fit because Sid just cost him the World Wrestling Federation Championship. So what does Hogan do? Hogan grabs a hold of Sid. Flair comes from behind and dumps it over the top rope. Your winner, the new World Wrestling Federation Champion, the Nature Boy. Woo! Ric Flair.
Woo!
With a tear in my eye. Of course, we get that from after.
Stupid immortal douchebag.
Yes, Flair broke the longevity record for lasting an hour and 2 seconds in the match. So it lasted a year. But we'll get into that when we get to there. So, but yes, Flair would win the WWF Championship. Hogan and Justice have a little look like they're gonna brawl, but you get a bunch of officials out there to make sure nothing happens between them, and then we get the infamous Flair promo backstage before the show goes off the air. Flair and Perfect Heenan backstage. What was your guys' overall opinions on that 1992 Royal Rumble match? I mean, obviously John doesn't agree on the match. Sid should have won, yes. But I understand why Flair did.
I think it was a great concept to have the World Wrestling Federation title vacated for a second time. First one was at WrestleMania 5. WrestleMania 4 with the main event with Hogan and Andre. But I thought it was a good concept to have the World Wrestling Federation title be a prize for the winner. I thought it was a great thing. Do I like the way the outcome comes? No. But there was a lot of chain reactions after this, how the card for WrestleMania 8 was supposed to shape out. Because the original plan, and we can go through this because we're going to be doing it, the original plan was supposed to be Hogan versus Flair at WrestleMania 8 for the World Wrestling Federation title. It was supposed to be Jake. It was supposed to be Jake versus Savage, and then Sid versus The Undertaker. That's the way it was supposed to happen, but due to the steroid scandal, Savage got the title shot against Sid. Savage got the title shot against Flair. Hogan got Sid, and then Taker and Jake got their match because that was Jake the Snake Roberts' last WrestleMania until he came back as a born-again Christian and all that shit. But it was a good concept. Do I wish that... To me, I know this was the last Royal Rumble match of the Texas Tornado because after this, he passed away, but I still feel like the Texas Tornado proved himself as the Intercontinental Champion. I was rooting for the Tornado to win the Royal Rumble match and become WWE Champion. It would have been Hulk Hogan was getting flat in 92. I mean, after WrestleMania 6, we're going to go back to WrestleMania 6, Hogan wanted to turn heel. Vince didn't want him to turn heel. Um, Vince always went back to Hogan because he knew how to milk him. I mean, pull the strings and Hogan would have barked. You know, I understand that Ric Flair was the right choice, and I know John has a different feeling than I do, but they gave the title to a guy that could have credibility. Do I see the Texas Tornado having it? Yes, he had it, but too many demons and Kerry Von Erich.
Very true.
Okay, so do I think Kerry Von Erich should have won this particular Rumble? No. Do I feel like he could have been the Iron Man of this Rumble?
Yes.
Yes. But when you have your person you're going to have win it entering at 3, it takes the whole Iron Man out because that's going to be your Iron Man. If you would give Ric Flair like 12 or 13, a mid number, and then give either Texas Tornado 3 or like 4 or 5, something right in there, you could show off that he is agile, make it to not even the final 4, but like final 6, final 8, right in that area.
Right.
Because you know that's someone that has the stamina, has the potential, and is over hugely with the crowd.
Right.
Now, back to the bullcrap that happened near the end. I get why Ric Flair won. I get that. I don't like the guy. I never have. I find him annoying. And that's just, I don't know, it's just my opinion. However, my issue is with the immortal fucking douchebag. He says, take his ass where he fucking came from and never be a part of WWE again. My goodness, that's finally happened. But I will say, overall, great match. I feel the right people, to an extent, were at the right moments that they needed to be. Good script. Few things could have been better. Tornado could have lasted longer. Sid should have won. But other than that, great match.
Someone back up. Alright. So
Yeah.
that was 92. We'll jump ahead to the 1993 Royal Rumble. I signed with Flair in it, and I agree. Texas Tornado should have got a better run, but 1993 Sacramento, California's Arco Arena. You got again Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby the Brain Heenan on commentary. This Royal Rumble was quite interesting. You got the Steiner brothers defeating the Beverly brothers in the first match, Bo and Blake Beverly. You got Shawn Michaels defeating Marty Jannetty to retain the Intercontinental Championship, even though he had issues with his manager Sherry at the time. Bam Bam Bigelow defeated the Big Boss Man. In the semi-main event, you have Razor Ramon going up against the Hitman Doc for the championship. Really good, close 18-minute match. This is Brett get the win with the sharpshooter. So then, Sherry was in a neutral corner for Shawn and Marty, by the way. But then we go into the Royal Rumble match. We'll get into some good stories that came from this Royal Rumble as well. But the entrants were as follows. The Nature Boy Ric Flair entered number 1. Bob Backlund number 2, who had just returned to the World Wrestling Federation at the age of 43, I believe they said at the time. Papa Shango, the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase, Brian Knobbs, Virgil, Jerry the King Lawler, Max Moon, Genichiro Tenryu. I butchered that. I did. Mr. Perfect, Skinner, Bookaware, Samu, Ritter, Undertaker, Terry Taylor, Damian Demento, IRS, Tataka, Jerry's Tattoo, Earthquake, Carlos Colon, for anybody who doesn't know, that's the dad of Carlito. Matador Tito Santana, Model Rick Martel, Yokozuna, Owen Hart, Repo Man, and the Macho Man Randy Savage. So this one, honestly, I feel like, I mean, this was the transition for the WWF at that point in time, obviously. Not as big of names really in there in the 93 Royal Rumble compared to the 92 Rumble. But again, like I said, this was a transition. Hogan was getting close to leaving WWF at that point in time. I mean, he would be there for a few more months, as we know, through June that year. But he wasn't really on TV that much then, and the winner of this Royal Rumble would play a big part in what we'd see in the end of Hulk Hogan in WWF for that run. But not only that, this was the night before the Monday Night Raw debut, I believe, or one of the first main Monday Night Raws anyways. And it wasn't the debut, but it's a big Monday Night Raw coming the night.
The first Monday Night Raw was January the 11th, 1993.
Yeah, so that was a couple weeks before. But it still was a huge Raw the night after because of what happened at the end of it. The Nation Boy Ric Flair, like I said, entered number 1, so he entered 2 spots earlier. He'd only last 18 minutes and 38 seconds after lasting over an hour the year prior, getting eliminated by Mr. Perfect, because the night after on Monday Night Raw would be the Mr. Perfect versus Ric Flair loser leaves WWF match. Which was the final time at that point in time that we would see Ric Flair in the World Wrestling Federation.
Also, isn't this the Royal Rumble
Okay.
that debuted the Narcissist?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just before the Royal Rumble match.
Or what Bobby Heenan called him, the narcissist.
Yeah. Narcissist instead of narcissist. But
to me, I thought Bobby Heenan was having. To me, it looked like Bobby Heenan was having an orgasm. Oh God, yes! Show me your legs. Yes.
Definitely unique. So,
and this was the first Royal Rumble that the winner of the Royal Rumble went on to WrestleMania to challenge the champ, whoever that may be at WrestleMania
9. So I mentioned the first big storyline that came out of it, Flair and Perfect, because the night after they had their leave WWE match, or WWF. Jerry Lawler would get eliminated by Mr. Perfect at one point in this match, but also would play a big part in Mr. Perfect getting eliminated as well, as him and Coco Beware and Ted DiBiase all worked together to eliminate Perfect. The ring got emptied out a couple minutes after The Undertaker had entered at 15, because The Undertaker would not be alone in the ring, though. Instead, a huge man would come out that nobody seemed to know who he was, in quite the interesting outfit that he was wearing, of course. That being, as we now know, Giant Gonzalez, who was taller than The Undertaker by quite a bit. Made The Undertaker look like a midget almost. Giant Gonzalez would beat up The Undertaker. Damien Demento number came up, he came out, but didn't go in the ring. IRS's number came up, he came out, didn't go into the ring either. Bob Backlund had been taken out by the Berserker, I believe. He'd been slammed down in the concrete prior to this, and he was still in the match, but wasn't in the ring at that point. Gonzalez did his damage to Undertaker for a few minutes, and then finally the referees and officials got him to leave. The match got back underway in the ring. That, of course, led to Giant Gonzalez and The Undertaker at WrestleMania 9, which Undertaker would win by disqualification. I believe the only match The Undertaker won in the streak by DQ. So, and probably one of the worst matches in the streak, if not the worst.
Oh, the streak, like we all talk about the Taker. Technically, the Undertaker wasn't even eliminated in the Royal Rumble match, and because Giant Gonzalez wasn't even a part of the Rumble match, he said it on commentator. This guy's not even in, but Bill Alfonso, whoever knows who that is, the manager of the Human Suplex Machine, Taz, Rob Van Dam, and Sabu was a referee, and you had Danny Davis, Joey Morella. I mean, they eliminated The Undertaker from the Royal Rumble, which he should have never been eliminated from the Royal Rumble.
I shouldn't have, because Giant Gonzalez was in there. But,
and if you talk about Damien Demento, he didn't care. He was talking
I believe
himself.
So after that, the next elimination comes. You have two tag team partners going at it as Typhoon and Earthquake go after each other, and Earthquake actually ends up eliminating his own tag team partner, Typhoon, from this match.
Well, that's what you get when you become the Shockman.
Well, I guess you're right.
I mean, God. I mean, get the fuck out of the ring. Your character sucks.
Well,
yeah, but we can't say that about Earthquake too. He became a shark.
I will say, him and Yokozuna had an interesting pair-off between the two of them in this match, though. And it did lead to Earthquake getting eliminated by Yokozuna. But Earthquake had Yoko kind of back it up a little bit at times.
Well, we all know that match that happened on Monday Night Raw with the sumo wrestling match on Monday Night Raw. That was a great match, by the way. I mean,
all right.
And the situation with Ric Flair, people don't know this. He was leaving WWF to go back to WCW. And I remember that match because the match that was the following night after the Royal Rumble, that was taped the week before the Royal Rumble. And I was at that taping. So I already know who lost. So technically, Ric Flair was not under contract when he entered the Royal Rumble that on 93. He already lost. But he had to fill his commitments through the weekend. So that's why they said it Monday night. But Flair was gone right after the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, it's good to know. All right. So the final four in this Royal Rumble end up being Bob Backlund, Randy Savage, Yokozuna, and Rick Martel. We've seen Rick Martel get eliminated by Bob Backlund, and then Bob Backlund get eliminated by Yokozuna, leaving us with Savage and Yoko as the final two. Yet again, where the number 30 entrant is in the final two. But that happened a lot, it seems like, over the years. So the interesting thing is, this was one of the first times, really, I feel like the final two got a decent amount of time in the match with each other. Savage got his hits in, Yoko got his hits in. But Savage finally got Yoko down and hits an elbow drop off the top rope and goes for a cover in the Royal Rumble match. To which Yokozuna kicks out by pressing Savage up and over the top rope to the floor. Winner of the match, Yokozuna, to go on to WrestleMania 9 to face the WWF champion.
You got to give it to Savage. That man used to know how to. I mean, the man launched himself over the top with a perfect. Got on him. All right, just lift me up. I'll do the rest. Holy shit! What a way to lift somebody up. And Savage did a perfect flip, but you got to give it up to. You got to give it up to Bob Backlund, 43 years old, lasting that long in that Royal Rumble, and I Did he beat Ric
He
Flair's
did,
record?
because he went 1 hour, 1 minute, and 10 seconds after Flair went 1 minute and 10 seconds the year before. Or 2 seconds.
Yeah, so I gotta say, you gotta give it up to Bob Backlund, 43 years old, coming back since losing the World Wrestling Federation Championship to Sheiky Baby at Madison Square Garden, and you gotta give it up to him. I mean, his career went downhill after losing the belt to Sheiky because of Arnold Skaaland, but we'll get a different version of Mr. Backlund pretty
That's
soon.
true.
You know.
Yeah, his
You know.
Bob Backlund's record there of 1 hour and 1 minute and 10 seconds would last for 11 years, which we'll talk more about that in one of our future episodes.
That is insane.
Yeah, well, that person.
It happened.
We
can't do about it. Happen.
That's true. But we'll get into that. But it was definitely interesting. Like I said, an interesting transition for the WWF at that time with Bret the champion, Yoko going on to WrestleMania, of course, to face Bret and defeat Bret for the WWF championship. We know what happened after that to end WrestleMania 9. I don't think we really need to mention it too much. But
yeah, let's not.
Luckily, he would lose that title back to Yokozuna at King of the Ring in 1993 as well. So. Good Royal Rumble match, anyways. We'll move on to the final Royal Rumble to talk about for tonight. The 1994 Royal Rumble match. I was just finishing watching this up when John and I got started to do this show. Providence, Rhode Island, the Providence Civic Center would host the 94 Royal Rumble. You have on commentary Vince McMahon and the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. As you got Tatanka defeating Bam Bam Bigelow in the opening contest. The Quebecers defeating Bret Hart and Owen Hart to retain the WWF Tag Team titles. Owen, of course, this was the infamous spot where Owen would kick out his brother Bret's leg, turning his back on his family pretty much at the time. If that's the way you want to look at it, you could also say that the family turned their backs on Owen because of what happened in Survivor Series the prior November. With Owen being the only member of the Hart family getting eliminated in the match between the Harts and Shawn Michaels and the Knights. I'm sure everybody has their own opinions on the Owen Hart-Bret Hart situation, but that's something we could talk about perhaps at another time. Razor Ramon would defeat IRS to retain the Intercontinental Championship. I remember this Royal Rumble so well, I think it was probably the first Royal Rumble we had ordered on pay-per-view, because I remember seeing The Undertaker versus Yokozuna in the casket match for the WWF Championship and seeing how many men it took to get The Undertaker secured into that casket to give Yokozuna the victory. And then seeing what happened after the match as well. It took, 10 men, I think, or something like that to get The Undertaker into the casket?
Well, in that match, you got the Bloodline teaming up with Crush. Jeff Jarrett looked like a schoolgirl with that long ass hair. You had Tenryu and whoever that other Japanese guy was. You had Adam Bomb in there, and then I'm sorry, people don't know it. Yokozuna wasn't Japanese; he was Samoan.
He's part of the Illinois family.
At first.
Yep, and then the head shrinkers, you have Rikishi, Fatu, and Samu, who are related due to the bloodline. So, you had some interesting things, but the special effects with the green smoke and then Undertaker gliding up to the heavens. I'm like, wait, he's supposed to be from down there. Why the hell did they not just make a hole that he just drops down into the bowels
Right?
of hell.
It was definitely unique. Of course, we wouldn't see The Undertaker for many months after that, but not until SummerSlam that year. The infamous Undertaker versus Undertaker.
With the greatest main event of SummerSlam history.
Sure. It should have been Bret and Owen in the cage.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, but damn, that was a hot ticket. Prime time, Brian Lee as The Undertaker versus The Undertaker. Woo, what a match.
So this year, things were a little different because this was the first time that you had two men start the match, and then every 90 seconds, instead of every 2 minutes, another participant would enter the Royal Rumble. We kick off the Royal Rumble match with Scotty Steiner and Samu of the Head Shrinkers. You got Rick Steiner come out there, Quang, who is a name that many people probably don't remember, but he was there. Savio Vega. Yep, Savio Vega.
Yeah, who doesn't know about Savio Vega?
But as Quang, many people might not know.
Really? Really?
What?
I'm pointing over there.
Went over there. Anyway, yeah, Owen Hart, Bart Gunn, Diesel, Bob Backlund, Billy Gunn, Virgil, Randy Savage, Jeff Jarrett, Crush, Doink the Clown, Bam Bam Bigelow, Mabel, Sparky Plug, Shawn Michaels, Mo, Greg the Hammer Valentine, Tatanka, the Great Kabuki, Lex Luger,
That's a guy.
Tenryu,
The Great Hoochie.
Tenryu, Bash and Booger, Rick Martel, Bret Hart, Fatu, Marty Jannetty, and Adam Bomb in this match. So the first big story out of this Royal Rumble match, of course, Big Daddy Cool Diesel, who went on a run and eliminated 7 men in a row in this Royal Rumble match. It wasn't a record. It was a single person elimination record, I believe. But because the record was Hogan with 10 at that point in time, with 10 eliminations a few years prior. But Diesel was dominant in the early stages of this match.
What up, Johnny?
All right, but before we got the Diesel, you gotta talk about the almost decapitation Samu's head with the ring rope.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Samu did that, and Scott Steiner would then eliminate him as he got him undone. But Samu did get his head and neck caught up in the ropes. Which looked gnarly, but
I do have to ask this. When Samu got him eliminated, did he say, "I love you Solo"?
No, but his son would. Oh. Of course, Quang came in and spit the green mist into the face of Rick Steiner as his brother Scott just watched it happen, leading to Rick Steiner getting eliminated by Owen. Bart Gunn would be the first man eliminated by Diesel, then Scott Steiner, then Owen, then Quang, and Bob Backlund would come out and last only 41 seconds before getting eliminated by Diesel. Billy Gunn lasted 14 seconds. Virgil lasted 32 seconds before getting eliminated by Diesel. And then Randy Savage would finally come in and stop the eliminations. But Randy would get eliminated by Crush. That's a big spot in the match because, of course, Crush and Randy Savage would have their street fight at WrestleMania, which was Randy's last WWF match at that point in time. Ever, actually.
Was still to this day, that blows my mind that WrestleMania 10 was Randy Savage's last WWE appearance, which is like, damn.
Right.
I mean, I was at that event. I always thought that if it's a last man standing match, count to 10. You had to pin the person you had to pin the person, and then you get the 10 count. It's like, okay, so Crush actually won the match.
It's kind of
I
crazy.
mean, help me with this, but yeah, we had some that. I mean, we like you said with Big Daddy Cool Diesel. 94 was
That's
his
true.
year. I mean, starting at the Rumble and then finishing at the night after Survivor, couple of days after the Survivor Series. I mean, the man won every title in one single
Yeah.
calendar year. Won the Intercontinental title after the Royal Rumble. After WrestleMania, he won the Intercontinental title, won the tag team
Sean, yeah.
titles, and then won the WWE title. Yeah, I mean that is a major complex for one guy in 1 year.
Sure. Randy would eliminate Jeff Jarrett. Before that, you mentioned Jarrett had the long girl-looking hair at that point in time. Before Randy got eliminated. Doink the Clown would get eliminated by Bam Bam Bigelow. Of course, Doink and Bam Bam had a big match. Kind of an intergender match, I guess you could say, at WrestleMania 10. Because it was Bam Bam and Luna versus Doink and Dink. Yes, that is a thing. Doink and Dink the Clown. Dink the Midget Clown was in a match at WrestleMania. It took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 men to eliminate Big Daddy Cool from this Royal Rumble match. The Scotch, Bam Bam, Mabel, Sparky Plug, and Shawn Michaels teamed up to eliminate Diesel.
Yes, Shawn Michaels was the last push after he just had a deal with Diesel in the match to like not go at each other. He's the reason Diesel gets eliminated. Love it. Classic Shawn Michaels.
Right. That is cool.
Most definitely. I like the way he played it off when Diesel got eliminated. Like, you're the one I pushed him over, jackass.
Had to make it look good, though.
Yeah.
And then it took 5 to eliminate Diesel, and then it took 7 men to eliminate Mabel afterwards. It was huge. He gets eliminated by Luger. Luger, of course, had been attacked by Kabuki and Tenryu before the Royal Rumble match took place, so they weren't even sure if Luger was going to make it out there. Now, when number 25 came, the buzzer went off, and Bash and Booger apparently eventually later was revealed, was supposed to come out, but nobody did come out. It wasn't the first time, but it was one of the first times that the actual person, because Randy Savage had done it prior, was one of not too many times where a spot was vacated, I guess you could say. Nobody actually entered the match in that spot. Took 4 guys to eliminate Crush, as Bam Bam, Sparky Plug, Luger, and Brett all eliminated him. Sparky Plug got eliminated by Brett and Shawn. It is just an interesting match. It's interesting to see that Greg the Hammer Valentine was still a part of WWF even in 1994. I didn't even realize he was still part of the company up to that point. But he stuck around a lot longer than some of the other guys.
He came back
at that point.
He came back from WCW because he was a part of WCW in '92.
Okay, so he must not have spent very long in WCW then.
No.
Martel got eliminated by Tatanka in there. Adam Bomb got eliminated by Luger. Mo by Fatu.
Adam didn't do very good as the number 30.
No, Adam Bomb only went 4 minutes and 55 seconds.
What a waste.
Yeah. Shawn would eliminate Marty. You get the final 4 being Shawn, Brett, Lex, and
Fatu.
Fatu, yeah. AKA Rikishi. Fatu would get eliminated by Brett, and then Shawn would be eliminated, of course. Leaving the final two, Shawn get eliminated by Drew, by Lex, and then when Lex and Brett go at it, they go at it for a minute or so, and then both men go tumbling over the top rope to the floor. We get the controversy. One referee saying Lex won the match. The other referee saying, no, Brett won the match. All kinds of confusion. Howard Finkel goes to announce the winner, 4 or 5 times, before we actually get the final say in it. President Jack Tunney has to come out and eventually tell him who the winners were. I was just, like I said, just rewatching it before we went on the air. Any angles they showed, you couldn't see really for sure if one of them hit before the other did, unlike with the Batista-Cena situation that we'll get to on a later show. But Brett and Lex were, of course, awarded as the co-winners of the 1994 Royal Rumble match, the first and only time that has happened.
You know, I like the concept of 2 winners for the Royal Rumble, but this has always been a mystery with wrestling fans. Who do you actually think who won the 94 Rumble? I know we couldn't see with the camera angle. Do you feel like Brett won or Luger won?
I feel like it was supposed to be Bret Hart. Because if you had that ankle injury, you might as well, and the leg injury, if he wasn't supposed to win, you should have just cut him out the Rumble.
Yeah. See, Eddie, John kind of asked me that question before you joined us and we went on the air. I kind of feel like they were looking at Lex probably as that winner because Vince, put it one way, Vince had quite the hard on, if you will, for Lex Luger and wanted Luger to be the next Hulk Hogan. So I have a feeling Luger was originally supposed to be the winner of that match.
You know, from my opinion, if you look at that match, Luger looks like he was trying to hold on to the top of the rope when they both went over. And apparently, I think the ropes were slick from all the sweat from the guys that you can see Luger didn't get a grip. He had it, and then all of a sudden it slipped out of his hand. So I do agree with you that Luger won the 94 Royal Rumble, but man, look what we got out of it at WrestleMania 10. We got 2 WWE Championship matches. We got the match that we really wanted to see in Brett and Owen that was for a card that was shit at WrestleMania 10. That match stole the show at WrestleMania 10.
Yeah.
But
that and Shawn and Razor.
Right. But I will say this. So they both got their title matches on the same night, correct?
Yeah.
But if Lex was supposed to win,
yeah,
why did Bret Hart get the main event spot?
Good question.
Well, you want to know what really happened? So, you know how New York tabloids are.
Like all tabloids, they suck secrets?
They're brutal. But the night before WrestleMania, Luger, Brett, Yoko, and Vince was out to dinner. And they didn't know that they were sitting next to the guy that used to be called the Matt. It was some mystery reporter that wore a mask, so nobody knew who he was. But he was the guy that wrote the wrestling tabloids in the New York Daily News. Well, apparently they had the finisher that Luger was going to beat Yoko and win the World Wrestling Federation title, and then go on and beat Brett to complete the night. So the next day at WrestleMania, Vince got word that the reporter put it into the newspaper, say Luger's set to win the WWE Championship at WrestleMania. So Vince had to change the entire card, change the entire finish, and that's why Luger never won the World Wrestling Federation Championship, due to them talking in a restaurant where the reporter, who nobody knew who he was, basically heard the entire finish.
Crazy.
Okay, but they still could have had Lex Luger beat Yoko, but just flip it and have Brett beat Lex.
The way Vince back then was really worried, he was coming off his steroid, he was going into his steroid allegation case. Vince didn't want to touch something, and I get what you're saying, John. He didn't want to. If you look at the roster of 1994, it wasn't the cleanest roster in WWE.
Well, yeah, when you got a person like Bastion Booger dropping his balls on people's faces for a pin.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you had some good spots with the 94 roster. You know, you had the 1-2-3 Kid that was a year prior beat Scott Hall and at Monday Night Raw with a dick shot moonsault.
Yeah.
I mean, you had Men on a Mission wrestling for the tag team titles, which they already won overseas because Mabel fell on PCO. You know, so, and then you had the biggest match that nobody really wanted to watch, Doink and Deke versus Luna and
Bam Bam.
and Bam Bam. What a great match. Yeah. The only bright spot, we had the women's match with Alundra Blaze versus what the fuck, who she? I don't give a shit who she wrestled. Lolani Kai or whatever, whoever it was. It wasn't the greatest WrestleMania, 10 years in the making. Yeah, it should have went back to 10 years still trying to figure it out.
And true. It was still
You could have had Diesel. You could have had Kevin Nash in a match to bounce off that Royal Rumble.
But can we all agree that out of big men that never won the world title, Bam Bam Bigelow is definitely up there?
Yeah.
You know, I agree with that because Bammer was, damn, he was really good. The man that could stand up to Andre the Giant at the first ever Royal Rumble, at the first ever Survivor Series. I mean, yeah, he rolled around weird, but I mean, Bammer should have been WWE champion. I mean, he should have had the tag team titles. You know, maybe not with Tatanka, but but still, you had some, but there was other matches that were supposed to be at WrestleMania 10 that year. That 6-man tag that never happened due to Shawn and Razor's historic ladder match.
So let me ask you this, since we're on the topic of Royal Rumbles. What superstar do you wish had the chance to compete in a Royal Rumble that never did?
Man.
I wonder how Bruno would have done.
Does it have to be from? Does it have to be from this organization?
Good question.
No.
Sting.
Okay. Yeah, the singer. I feel like, or Scott Norton.
Oh yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, I don't think this person has been in a Rumble. How about the Soul Man? Rocky
James
Johnson.
Brown? Oh. No, because Rocky was burnt by the WWE because he went over to Saudi. So I would have loved to see Rocky Johnson in there. I mean, we got his tag team partner, Samba Simba. I mean, yeah.
Still, there's a lot of guys that would have been interesting to see in the Rumble. I feel, but
There's one guy I would love to see in a Royal Rumble. Actually, two. Antonio Inoki.
yes,
That'd be a good one. And my one that I feel that would be great in the Royal Rumble, Kenny Omega.
you and I must be on the same wavelength here because I was just thinking the same person.
I'm thinking of one more, but I'm trying to think if he ever wrestled under a different persona in a Rumble match. I don't think he has. What about Ultimo Dragon?
He was.
He was?
He was in a Royal Rumble match. I forgot which one he was. But
The
he did
90s
appear in a Royal Rumble.
ones.
Yeah, I forgot which one he did, but when he debuted, he was in a Royal Rumble match.
In I think 04 or 05, somewhere around there.
Hey, I would have liked the Yeti and see if he would have came in and him and Big Show would have molested somebody in the Royal Rumble.
No, 04. You don't need that.
But you know who I really want in the Royal Rumble this year? If you say his name, he will appear.
I believe in Joe Hendry.
Nope.
You know who'd you be interested in the Royal Rumble? He's debuting Monday. Penta.
Yeah.
You want to know what's going to be really great about the Royal Rumble? Number 30. That buzzer hits. Y'all going to go big, y'all?
And I hope so.
I hope so.
He did say that I'm going to be on every Monday Night Raw until I'm cleared. Where the fuck you at, bro? You cleared?
It looked like they're setting up the New Day against Big E and Wayne Barrett. I don't know. It feels like you're going to have Wayne Barrett be E's partner.
That'd be weird.
I mean, I thought it was going to be Wade Barrett versus Drew McIntyre at Mania.
Yeah, Wade does claim if he come back for one more match, it'd be with Drew. So.
One I would love to see.
Man, they got some guys who I really love that wasn't in the Rumble. Oh, I don't know if he's still around, but can we get PN News? The rapper from WCW.
Wow.
Or just bring back the greatest song in the world. It's a time for Scorpio. Ooh.
You want to know what?
What?
How about a WCW gimmick?
Oh God!
Eddie, you know where I'm going to
You
go
want to
with
bring
this.
back the demon?
No, you know where I'm going with this though.
Phil Torborg.
Glacier.
Glacier.
We talked about this when you came over.
Yeah.
I would love to see in the Royal Rumble the return of the gobbledygooker.
Oh, Jesus. Not needed at all.
Or here's my prediction: you bring back every Kane gimmick now in the world of professional wrestling.
God, there's way too many.
You bring back gay Kane. You bring back cocaine. You bring back blue Kane. And I heard that they're gonna do pimp Kane
I think I seen there was an Asian king or something that I could do.
and an Asian Kane. Shit, let's bring them all in there.
Like, really? That's what we doing here, people?
And I know if we're doing a woman's one, we gotta bring back blue pants.
Yes! With the evening song, you know.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's someone that he will never compete in a Royal Rumble because he's dead, I believe. But I've never been in one either. How about George the Animal Steel?
He wasn't in the
Yes.
Royal Rumble?
No, he was there in the Rumble.
Shit, that's an amazing one. Hell, we should bring back Tito Santana. He's still doing wrestling after all these years.
In the Rumble again?
Hell, let's bring back Ric Flair. He could just die in the ring.
No more Ric Flair wrestling.
It's official. Ric Flair versus Logan Paul.
Well, I would love to see. Well, who knows? You know, I know Tony's going to be wearing this Monday night. The farewell tour of "You Can't See Me."
Right, I will go to dancing for Monday.
And now they got new merch. Like, motherfucker, I just bought the one with all his things, and they come out with a blue one.
It's honestly, it's that scene. They're doing one for each city he's going to be in.
Well, I've been watching YouTube, and I've been seeing that they showed a little of the opening for, I don't know if it's real, but showing the opening of the old Monday Night Raw song with the current wrestlers.
Yeah, seems something like that. I don't know if they'll use it on Raw on Netflix, but we'll see.
I actually have one, and I know you guys are going to laugh. I would love to see the only man that hasn't been in the Royal Rumble, Gilbert, makes his Royal Rumble debut.
Been in a Rumble.
In Rumble.
How's he? Shit. All right. What about Rockabilly?
Fine.
As Billy Gunn, yes, he's been in the Rumble.
You know who I would love to see that they could. I would love to see in this Royal Rumble that we get Ricky Starks debuting in the Royal Rumble match.
Contract supposedly still.
Hell, I would even like to see the Young Bucks
No thing.
in the Rumble.
Yeah, I agree with that. Young Bucks over in AEW.
What about Hangman Page?
That one I would agree with.
I would love to see Orange Cassidy in the Rumble.
Oh God, yes. Or Brody King.
Yes.
Okay, so we covered a lot of the men's. How about women's side of things?
I know this is gonna sound weird.
I swear to God, if you say Miss,
Bull
I'm reach
McConnell.
to his phone and smack you.
Bull McConnell.
Yeah. She's been in men's matches. I would love to see in China.
Oh, so you're saying women's match?
Yeah.
I would love to see R-Truth win the 2025 Women's Royal Rumble.
Oh.
I know it won't happen. I know it won't happen. But after seeing her in Cobra Kai Part 2, I would love to see the DMD herself, Britt Baker, in the Rumble.
Good Lord. Is she still on the contract with AEW?
Yeah.
I think so.
You know who I would love to see in the WWE, but I know she got released? The Virtuoso.
Oh, Deanna Purrazzo?
Yeah. That or Thunder Rosa.
Tessa Blanchard.
Fuck no.
I don't think anybody wants to touch that with a stick.
He's signed to TNA. TNA has a partnership with NXT. So.
Tell me she got.
What about Rosemary?
Yes. Yes.
Rosemary.
And I know he's not. Is he still at the company? Crazy Steve.
Last I knew he was. I haven't watched it in a while.
I think he's under contract.
I know I'm going to get John happy.
No, I'm saying.
Fallon.
Oh, yeah, you can say that one. Okay. But that's not my favorite anymore. Stephanie Vacar.
Oh, God, she is. Hell, I would like to see Trick Williams' girlfriend up there.
Flash Legend.
Ooh.
Flash Legend.
Yeah, Last Legend
Cara
and
Jackson.
Carmelo's girl.
Oh, you mean Kalane Jordan? Melo's bitch? Or how about former TNAs, the beautiful people?
Yes. Give me some Angelina Love Metal Sky.
And just because we mentioned this guy before, we've talked about that tornado. How about Lacey Von Erich?
Yep. And you know who I would love? I know she won't do it. There's two people I think should be in the Rumble. Brandy.
Yeah. Okay, I got to give you the ultimate pick to be in this year's Women's Royal Rumble match. It's been 10 years. It's time to line up. Bring AJ Lee.
Hey, AJ Lee!
I would love to see AJ. She needs to come back. I mean, it don't have to be a big run, but still, give her something to do.
Right? Yeah, I've seen on social media. Actually, it's been almost 10 years since her and Layla have been in WWE.
I would love to see Keith Lee back.
Would be nice.
I want to see Caitlyn back.
Third run for her.
Yeah.
What about Eve Torres?
Overrated.
Why do I feel like we're gonna hear hardcore country? You know,
Her husband,
she's gonna
general
come
manager. So yeah.
in. Of course, she's gonna come in.
She should.
What about the woman that beat Jordan Grace for the TNA Knockout title? Masha Slamovich?
Imovich?
What the fuck?
Son of a bitch, yeah.
Yeah. Would be nice too.
Do they still have a partnership with them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. They got somebody great woman in that division.
Which means
that could
Tessa
go.
Blanchard could be a part of it.
I would love to see, what is it, Tessa Steele or whatever the fuck her name is.
Can we bring back Brooke Tessmacher?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Oh shit! I can see it now. Brooke Tessmacher, Kelly, and Layla doing the expose in the Royal Rumble match.
That'd be great.
Now we're talking.
And then bring back R-Truth and Carmella. We could do that dance off.
Dance break. Carmella's got to be.
There's one more I would love to see. What about I don't know if she's on the roster anymore. If WWE had a partnership with this, I would love to see Riho.
Yeah, she's under.
Riho, Akara Shida. You know, Mariah May would be good in it. And then you can't forget the woman that just signed with AEW, Toni Storm. It's amazing. It's amazing. Toni Storm leaves WWE last year and comes to TNA this year. AEW. It's amazing how much of a career she had, and she left WWE.
Right.
Tell me that's not a stupid ass gimmick. That is the stupidest fucking gimmick in the world.
Hey, some sort of stupid memory loss gimmick. Yeah.
I would love to see. There's one woman in AEW I would love to see in WWE. Chris Statlander.
Sure. Anyway, we could sit here and pick different women and men to be all often. But this is the first part. 88 for 94. For decent Royal Rumble matches. I'd say we're getting even better as we go along with these shows. Which Royal Rumble match out of those 7 would you guys say you felt like was the best Royal Rumble match?
Shit, none of them.
Okay, I'd pick one of those seven. Which one would you say was your favorite?
Okay. I felt like the 1992 one was better because it had something on the line, and it was the World Wrestling Federation Championship. I thought that was the other one. And maybe the 1994 one because you had Diesel dominating. But other than that, I felt like the other ones were just shit.
Yeah, John.
All right, so here's my dilemma because my heart says the 1991 Rumble was my favorite. We all know why. It was his longest time in the Rumble. We all know why it's my favorite. But as a whole, where just the match alone, not a certain superstar, but just the match alone, just because of all the controversy behind it, how it was like everyone versus those two certain people, I have to go with the 94.
Fair. Good choices. I actually had to agree with you. I feel like the 92 Royal Rumble was the best of those seven, or Super Seven. The WWE Championship on the line, and I felt like it was probably one of the most star-studded Royal Rumble matches at that point as well. And I could,
What's that last one you said? Because you're going in and out.
I said it was one of the most star-studded Royal Rumble matches for those first that I felt like. So that was why
Yeah.
I decided for the WWE Championship. So next up on the docket, we've got, of course, this upcoming Monday, very historic night for WWE, as Monday Night Raw moves on network television for the first time ever to a streaming platform as Monday Night Raw debuted Netflix, of course, Monday night. We're going to be watching along as the debut episode takes place from 8 to 11. We will do a show afterwards talking all about everything that was happening. So we'll have both of those shows on Monday night. And then Tuesday night, we'll be back here at 6 p.m. for our part 2 of the Retrospective. We'll look at 1995 through 2002's Royal Rumble event. After that, on 14th, we'll have part 3, the 21st lap, part 4, and then the final part will come January 28th, ahead of the Royal Rumble itself, just a few days before that. And then on the night of the Rumble on February 1st, we're planning on doing a Royal Rumble prediction show that day at Eddie's house again, weather permitted, because we live in Michigan, and who knows what the weather's going to be like, because right now there's a lot of snow out there. The last days it's decent amount of spots, so who knows what the weather will be like here. So.
Yep, we're going to be doing this, and we hope everybody enjoyed this one. But I know Tony might want to talk. We finally got to see Tiffy time.
Yes, Tiffany Stratton did win the Cash in Money in the Bank. The Women's Championship on SmackDown.
I thought, to be honest, I thought the first, and I know we're going to talk about this, I didn't like the first 3 hours SmackDown. I felt like it was too many, not enough matches, too much talking.
I will admit this much: they gave a lot of time for those matches, so they didn't have.
Yeah.
We talked about that. It was a good SmackDown. Like I mentioned, talk more about that maybe on my review show for Raw. We could probably pop a little bit of SmackDown as well. But that, thank you guys for being here as always. Thanks to Andy Ellis for the little comment in the chat section. Anyone else who's watching now or later, do me a favor if you haven't hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, leave a comment if you want to. Hit the bell so that you know when we are live. Anytime. And we hope you guys enjoyed this. Let us know what you think. We will catch you guys Monday night for the Raw on Netflix premiere. See ya.
Oh, yeah.